Paris. Sunday, October 19th, 2025. The city awakens under a soft autumn light. Along the Seine, its most iconic landmark, the Louvre Museum, prepares to welcome the world. It's more than just a museum, it's a symbol of French history, a custodian of culture that sees 30,000 visitors pass through its doors every single day. But on this particular morning, another arrival goes unnoticed. At 9:30 a.m., just as the first visitors are stepping inside, a plain white furniture removal truck pulls up to the museum's Seine-facing facade. Men in high-visibility jackets emerge, calmly placing bollards on the pavement, as if for routine maintenance. They are hiding in plain sight, preparing to stage one of the most brazen acts of cultural theft in modern history, a crime that was not just a robbery, but a performance. The operation begins. An extendable ladder rises from the truck, carrying two of the four-man crew towards a first-floor balcony of the ornate Apollo Gallery, the historic home of the French crown jewels. Their movements are swift, precise, and shockingly audacious. They don't bother with locks or doors. A disc cutter slices through a window pane. At 9:34 a.m., an alarm is triggered, but it's a silent one, ringing only in a distant security headquarters, not in the gallery itself. The thieves have bought themselves precious time. They are inside the Apollo Gallery for just 3 minutes and 58 seconds. The 5 staff members present are confronted not by firearms, but by the menacing threat of the thieves wearing angle grinders. Using the same tools, they attack 2 reinforced display cases. The glass, designed to withstand bullets, resists, cracks but does not shatter, forcing the thieves to frantically pull the jewels through small, sharp openings. By 9:38 a.m. it's over. The entire operation has taken less than 7 minutes. The 2 men descend the ladder and leap onto the back of waiting motorbikes, melting into the Paris traffic and vanishing without a trace. What they stole was not just a collection of gems, but a tangible link to France's royal past. The French crown jewels are symbols of monarchy and empire, with a lineage stretching back to the 8th century. The thieves made off with 8 priceless objects, valued at over $100 million. The haul included a sapphire diadem necklace and earrings set once belonging to Queens Marie-Amélie and Hortense, an emerald suite gifted by Napoleon to his second wife, Empress Marie-Louise, and a stunning diamond brooch and diadem from the collection of Empress Eugenie. But in their haste, they made a critical error. The thieves dropped their most spectacular prize, the emerald-set imperial crown of Empress Eugenie, a masterpiece containing over 1,300 diamonds. It was later found outside, damaged not by the fall, but from being crushed as the thieves tried to wrench it from its case. This fumbled crown would become a crucial piece of the story. Yet the thieves' most telling decision was not what they took, but what they left behind. In a nearby case sat the Regent diamond, a legendary 140-carat stone, one of the most famous gems in the world. They ignored it completely. This was no mistake. It was a cold, criminal calculation. Hyper-famous artifacts like the Regent are virtually impossible to sell on the black market. Their fame is their liability. The stolen items, however, were a collection of thousands of individual gems. This was not a heist for ransom. It was a smash-and-melt operation designed to dismantle history and liquidate it into untraceable cash. The target was not art, but raw material. In the hours and days that followed the heist, a wave of disbelief turned into a tsunami of national humiliation. The French state, a symbol of cultural pride, had been violated at its very heart, and its leaders were forced to admit a catastrophic breakdown in security. Louvre director Laurence Descartes, in a tense testimony before the French Senate, didn't mince words. She called it a terrible failure, a failure so profound that she had offered her resignation. Justice Minister Gérald Darmanin was even more blunt. telling French radio, "What is certain is that we have failed," giving France a terrible image. Even President Emmanuel Macron weighed in, framing the theft not just as a crime, but as an attack on heritage, vowing that the perpetrators would be relentlessly hunted down and brought to justice. 3 days later, the Louvre's heavy doors creaked open once more. But something had changed. The magnificent Apollo Gallery, usually a highlight for any visitor, remained sealed off, a crime scene at the core of a national treasure. Bewildered tourists wandered the surrounding halls, a strange silence hanging in the air. How could you reconcile the serene, timeless beauty of the art with the raw, violent crime that had just unfolded within these same walls? The investigation into the heist quickly became an investigation into the Louvre itself. The thieves' audacious success wasn't the result of a single mistake, but a cascade of systemic vulnerabilities, a domino effect of flaws that had been ignored, underfunded, and left to decay for years. The museum's director had to admit to highly insufficient video surveillance on the building's exterior. It sounds almost unbelievable, but the only camera near the thieves' entry point was facing the wrong direction. As if to confirm this, a state auditor's report, which was just about to be published, revealed an even more shocking statistic. A third of the rooms in that entire wing of the museum lacked any CCTV coverage at all. The few perimeter cameras that did exist were described as simply aging. Culture Minister Rachida Dati laid the blame on what she called 40 years of abandon by her predecessors, pointing to chronically delayed security upgrades. There was also a critical failure in threat assessment. The display cases had been reinforced to protect against gunshots, a threat from a different era. But nobody had planned for the brute force of a modern battery-powered angle grinder. For years, trade unions had been sounding the alarm, warning that severe cuts to security staffing were leaving not just French cultural venues, but their priceless collections and their staff dangerously exposed. Their warnings went unheeded. The breakdown was total and systematic. Think about it. A security measure existed for every single stage of the crime, but at every stage, the thieves found a way to defeat it. First, the perimeter surveillance. The thieves exploited known blind spots. They knew the nearby camera was facing the wrong way and that the whole network was old and insufficient. Next, getting into the building. They bypassed all ground floor security by simply using a truck with an extendable ladder to reach an unsecured first-floor window. Then the window itself. It wasn't adequately secured. The thieves cut right through the glass pane with a disc cutter, as if it were cardboard. What about the alarms? They actually worked. But they rang silently in a central security office miles away, preventing any immediate on-site response. By the time anyone knew what was happening, it was too late. The display cases, those supposed guardians of treasure, were bullet-resistant but completely vulnerable to the high-powered angle grinders. The thieves cut small, precise holes and simply pulled the items through. And the on-site guards? They were present, but when threatened, they followed protocol to evacuate visitors. It was the right thing to do for public safety, but it gave the thieves a clear, unobstructed field of operation. This heist exposed a dangerous and uncomfortable truth. The Louvre, a historic palace built for kings, was never designed to defend against the sophisticated methods of modern criminality. This is what we call the cultural heritage security gap, the massive chasm between the agile, technologically equipped tactics of organized crime and the outdated, underfunded security of our most treasured public institutions. The failure at the Louvre wasn't just a French problem. It was a deafening warning bell for museums and cultural sites all over the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this deep dive interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. We'll see you in the next one. The hunt for the thieves fell to two of France's most elite police units, the BRB, Specialists in Armed Robbery, and the OCBC, the Central Office for Fighting Art Trafficking. An immense team of over 100 investigators was assembled, tasked with tracking down ghosts. The thieves had vanished without a trace. And then they got a break. It came from the thieves' single greatest mistake. In their hurried escape, a museum security guard had bravely run towards the commotion, preventing the gang from setting fire to their abandoned truck. This single act of courage preserved the entire crime scene. The truck was a forensic gold mine. Inside, police found angle grinders, a motorcycle helmet, a high-vis vest, and other tools of the trade. Crime scene investigators collected over 150 DNA samples and fingerprints. The thieves had shown military precision during the heist, their plan likely rehearsed to perfection. But their escape was flawed. This contradiction of meticulous execution, followed by a clumsy getaway, is surprisingly common in high-stakes crime. The pressure of the escape, the unexpected intervention of a guard, it caused a fatal breakdown in their plan, giving police the very evidence they needed to unravel the entire network. For a week, the investigation continued in secret. Police painstakingly analyzed CCTV footage from across Paris, tracking the gang's escape route through the city and its surrounding suburbs. Then on Saturday, October 25th, exactly 1 week after the heist, the BRB made its move. The first arrest was dramatic. Around 10 p.m. at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, plainclothes officers closed in on a suspect as he prepared to board a flight. He was a man in his 30s from Seine-Saint-Denis, a northern suburb of Paris. Shortly after, a second suspect, also from Seine-Saint-Denis, was arrested in the Paris region. Both men were known to police and believed to be part of a larger criminal network hired simply to execute the heist. The arrests were a major breakthrough, but the celebration was muted. 2 members of the gang were still at large, and most importantly, the jewels were still missing. The 2025 Louvre Heist doesn't stand in isolation. It's part of a disturbing pattern of modern cultural crime, where the motive isn't possession, but pure destruction for profit. Think of the 1990 Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum theft. $500 million worth of masterpieces vanished. They're too famous to sell, so they've never been seen again, likely kept intact. This is different. The Louvre Heist is more like the 2019 smash and grab at Dresden's Green Vault, where thieves used an axe to steal priceless 18th century royal jewels. This represents a modern criminal calculus where priceless heritage is assessed only for its raw material value. The goal is to erase an object's identity, melting down the gold and recutting the gems until all that remains is untraceable cash. With 2 suspects in custody, the investigation continues, but the most painful question remains: what happened to the jewels? Experts fear the worst. The 8 stolen pieces were likely dismantled within hours of the theft. The thousands of diamonds, emeralds, and sapphires would have been ripped from their settings, sent to be recut in global diamond hubs like Antwerp or India, and laundered back into the legitimate market. The historic goldwork, a testament to centuries of French craftsmanship, would have been melted into anonymous bars. The artistic and historical value of these pieces is gone forever. They can never be reassembled. The theft wasn't just a loss of property, it was an irreversible act of cultural destruction. In the end, the 7-minute heist leaves a permanent scar. It's a story of audacity and failure, of meticulous planning undone by human error. But most of all, it's a devastating reminder of the fragility of our shared heritage and the unending battle to protect priceless history from a world that too often sees only a price tag. The story of the heist may be over, but the story of the loss has just begun. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you find these stories as compelling as we do, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content. We'll see you in the next one.